to receive from the ruach of the tzaddik, and it's unlimited because it's not enclosed and encased in a body like we speak about in Igeres HaKodesh Simcha of Zayin, and this is the ruach of the tzaddik, even though it's oil l'mayla, but it's still kedusha ein azazim kaima. The holiness never leaves its place, so it's always with the talmidim. It's always here in this world, etc., etc. So now, based on all of this, that the students through their iskashros they can connect to the tzaddik even at present, and even more so at present, more so than they were able to do B'shas Chaim Chayusa Ba'al Medain, when the ruach, when the midas of the tzaddik were limited in how they could come out, because it was limited by the vessel, the body, and the ruach was enclosed in the nefesh, which was enclosed in the body. So now he's going to pose the question: if so, what's the necessity of traveling and going to the cave of a tzaddik? So that's the question that he's going to deal with now. Though it's explained and understood from all that we said in the previous paragraph, that every one of the students can receive their portion and their Torah, they can receive it from the spirit of their Rebbe, from the ruach of their Rebbe, which is the level of the midas, as we said, as opposed to the nefesh. Through the light of Gan Eden that spreads out around every single person. So as we said, Gan Eden is not limited to somewhere out there. Gan Eden can be found down here as well. If so, there's no need to travel to his holy resting place and to prostrate themselves on his grave. What's the purpose of that? So the Mittler Rebbe adds a very important qualifier. This is all applicable provided that the student's connection with the tzaddik is as with the full intensity as it has to be. All this applies in this is all if the rope and the cords of the bond of the great love to his Rebbe did not become severed. And it's in the same way like it was while his Rebbe was alive, and the student is still misnaig ba'avodas Hashem, ba'ava Rabbe, be'emunah k'fi asher Rabbe. He's acting in the service of Hashem with great love and with trust and faith in Hashem, the way his Rebbe teaches him. So then, by the student going in the ways of his Rebbe and constantly following his directives, so then it's possible for the disciples, for the students, to be able to receive their portion from the ruach of the Rebbe, like it's explained over there in the Igeres HaKodesh Simcha of Zayin. But the issue is, if heaven forbid the thick cords of love was severed because of the burdens and the troubles of time and matters of this world and physical matters, that it was almost extinguished, the light of the Torah of the tzaddik and the love and awe of the tzaddik that was appearing upon them, that was like influencing them, while the tzaddik was still in his lifetime. While the tzaddik was alive, he was inspiring the student. But when the tzaddik passed away, so that inspiration is not constant, not there. Maybe it's supposed to say yuchal, until after a while over time, it can be extinguished. It can be completely forgotten from him what he received from the tzaddik, his bonds to the tzaddik, his love for the tzaddik, etc. For this very reason, this is a problem that's not only when the tzaddik passes away, but this issue can arise even when the tzaddik is alive, that all the influence and effect of the Rav can dissipate after time. And for that reason, he needed constantly, even while the Rav was alive, lekabel pnei harav, top of page Chav Daled, to constantly greet his Rebbe, v'lishmai bepiv daf kedach, and to hear Chassidus directly from his mouth. Question is, what is there a need for that? Though the words of his Rebbe are written down, so therefore I could say, why travel to the Rebbe? I have his writings, I have the manuscripts, now we have the printing. What else do I need? Became still in all. It's not the same hearing the words of his teacher from afar by having books and manuscripts, etc., to actually seeing the face of the Rav. Because the ray of his face, seeing, in other words, the face of the tzaddik, is greater than receiving and having transmitted to him words on paper without being in the presence of his Rebbe. And both of them combined are good. In other words, obviously, just seeing the Rebbe's face without listening to his teachings, that itself is lacking. And the same thing the other way around. Having his teachings, but without being able to see, just getting it via, in the mail, getting the text of the teachings, that's also not enough. And by having them both combined, it causes by the student a powerful, mighty bond of a great love in a powerful yearning and desire for his Rebbe. This is what the Chazal say, whoever cleaves in a Talmud Chacham, it's as if he's cleaving in the Shechina. How come? What's the association? Through his cleaving and his bonding with the tzaddik, he could receive the ray. As we said, in the lifetime of the tzaddik, it's only a ray from the tzaddik's ruach. Through his holy speech of the Rebbe and through his holy thoughts, which his speech and his thoughts are manifested and revealed in the light of the Rebbe's teachings, and is revealed in the light of the Rebbe's avodah, and through that, by being in the presence and bonding with the tzaddik, so then he could be to receive and absorb it very well in his brain and his heart. The light of the love of the tzaddik and the light of the awe of the tzaddik, that it should be completely and really and verily absorbed, just like we say that matters that exit the heart enter into the heart, etc. So the entrance into the heart means that I really absorb it, and that I get not just from reading the words, but from being in the presence of the Rebbe, and through being in the presence, I have that yearning and desire and connection and bond with him. Second paragraph on page Chav Daled. This is what Chazal say. Chayiv Adam lahagdol pnei Rabbi beregel. A person is obligated to greet the face of his Rebbe during Yom Tov. This is supposed to be akin to greeting the Shechina that we were supposed to be Oila Regel in the times of the Beis HaMikdash. Now, interestingly enough, the expression that's used is, it's not chayiv to learn the Torah and the teachings from his Rebbe at every Yom Tov. It says you're supposed to greet and to have you have to greet his face, you have to see him. What's the point of seeing? It's exactly what we said now. Because then, by personally visiting his Rebbe, he receives an additional light from the spirit of and from the Ruach of his Rebbe. Shemeir oz b'yeser seis v'yeser oz, that shines then in a much more powerful way, in a stronger way. Perhaps also the point is, oz means there's a unique advantage of going by Yom Tov. Maybe it means that as well. That's what the emphasis on oz. That at that time, during the time of the Yom Tov, perhaps there's a greater possibility to be able to receive more and with much more energy. Anyway, that this which he receives by greeting the Rebbe and by meeting the Rebbe in person, then it empowers him and strengthens him after leaving the presence of his Rebbe, to strengthen himself in the service of Hashem with love and awe, according to what he received from his Rebbe. All of this comes as a result of just the seeing of the face, from the shine of the face of his Rebbe. And how do we know that this is the case? A proof of this is when there is a long time when he hasn't been in the presence of his Rebbe. Again, even while the Rebbe is still alive. So then the rope and the bond of the great love becomes severed. He falls off of his service in the great love and the service of Hashem. Like it's known, this occurrence, we see this in many people. This is the true reason for those that travel constantly to hear Chassidus, specifically from the mouth of the Rebbe. Not just they could read it in the Svarim. That's not enough. They already heard from the Rebbe in the past. And they saw it in writing. And they even have the writings. They own the writings of the Rebbe. They can look at it whenever they want. Despite that, they constantly travel to greet the face of the Rebbe with the additional light of a luminous face, and then what's called a face that is being masbir. There's different ways of translating it. Legalus lahem Torah's emes, to reveal to them the light of the Torah of truth. Panim meiris, panim masbiris is the lashon Chazal about the quality and advantage of seeing the face of the Rebbe, and just seeing the face of the Rebbe also adds to the understanding of what one is studying. I don't remember which Tana, I think, said that how much more I would have received if I could have seen the face of my Rebbe instead of just seeing from the back, being from the back. Through that, because through that it shines in their soul, the avodas Hashem, with love and awe. Because through this, through the bond of the great love, that his soul becomes bound with the soul of tzaddik, like it says, that his soul is bound up in his soul, like it says concerning Yaakov and Binyamin, the same thing. This bond of the chassid that comes to the Rebbe ensures that his soul becomes bound up with the soul of tzaddik. And I could say, who am I? I'm significant. My soul should be bound up with his soul. Legabe nafsharav, though there's no comparison in regards to the soul of his Rebbe, and he's insignificant in comparison to the soul of his Rebbe. Mikol makom eze erech v'shaykas yesh le'alkaponim. He still has some type of value and some type of association, kivin shemekusher love, since he is bonded with a tzaddik, umamin boy, and since he believes in the tzaddik, the vada yesh le'eze shaykas, surely he has some connection, association. And because of his connection that he has with the nefesh of his Rav, through that he could receive his portion, how much is available to him from the ruach of his Rebbe, like we said before. And it's enough for those that understand. This is all talking about the reasons why we visit the Rebbe while he was still alive. By extension, expanding this idea, the Mittler Rebbe is going to apply this also, and even more so, the necessity of visiting the oil of a tzaddik, the tzion of a tzaddik, after passing. So he says the third paragraph on the page, V'nei movement calls that from all this is understood. It's understood how much more so that when he left his life to all the living, though the life of the Rebbe, which is the belief in Hashem and the love of Hashem and the awe of Hashem, is found in all the worlds, and their students can receive their portion wherever they are, even if they do not go visit the grave of the tzaddik. Yet, if even when the tzaddik was alive, we're worried that the bond would weaken and their avoida and their following the directives of the tzaddik would weaken, how much more so when the tzaddik passed away? Still in all the meshachs man Rav, after a lengthy time, and the preoccupation of his free time and the freedom of his mind, with the pressures and difficulties of making a living, being that the Rebbe passed away, so the light of the Torah of the tzaddik, the light of the avodah of the tzaddik, can completely become extinguished by the students. Therefore, it's necessary to travel to his place of rest, al kivrei, on his grave, and to prostrate oneself on his grave, and to awaken the love from the depth of the person and the depth of it, from the most inner part of the person, from the depth of his heart. What's it going to help? You said that it completely became extinguished. So he says, it might look that way, but still no. Surely it wasn't completely severed, the connection with his Rebbe. Still remains some type of impression and some type of mark, top of Chafei. That is the spirit that he left within her. There's an expression like that concerning Yibum, for example, that there's the spirit of the husband that's left in the wife, and the Chazal also speak about it. She'eina isha kereses bris, that a woman does not completely make a covenant el misha asa chulu, only to her first husband, the one who made her a vessel. So therefore, valchein af shenifrada manu, even though she separated himself from him, in other words, even if the husband passed away, ruchai mekashkish tamid begavei, that his spirit, the spirit of the husband, is constantly resonating within her, and therefore she cannot truly receive another husband. This is why the Zohar spoke in a very powerful way about not marrying a widow because of her connection to her first husband. But this is all being used as a metaphor for the student's connection with the tzaddik. Even though he may feel like he's been severed, just like a widow that was severed from her husband, still in all, despite feeling like he was severed, deep inside, the ruach of the tzaddik is still resonating there. And where is it found? That is the will, or that's the reason behind the will that a person has to travel to the resting place of the tzaddik, to awaken the love. If it would have been completely severed, the connection that he has with the tzaddik, he wouldn't have even had a will to travel at all to the resting place of the tzaddik. So too, this spirit, this ruach that the tzaddik left within him, that left within his student, something is resonating from the spirit of the tzaddik, from the ruach of the tzaddik within the student. The person can awaken that ruach of his Rebbe that's within him, deep inside, and he can awaken it anew, with the power of his great love, and like we said, that when he goes visit the tzaddik, it causes him to be a great sublimation before the tzaddik, the Yegiyah Gedolah, and with great toil, the Kabul Gimel Midas Halalu, to be able to receive the three attributes, like we said, of belief, emunah, and love, and awe. Like his Rebbe taught him in these three midas. So that is the reason why a person needs to travel to a tzaddik, even though really the tzaddik is available all over. But it's not about the tzaddik's availability, it's about the person's own connection and awakening his own inspiration to feel that connection and to awaken that bond with the tzaddik, so it should practically be brought out and be inspired. So now, what is it specifically that he's traveling to the resting place of the tzaddik? Why is the traveling to the resting place of the tzaddik primary and core? So in the next paragraph, he's going to explain 2 points. The first point is essentially what we said before, but just a little bit more elucidation. And the second point is going to deal with the levels of the tzaddik that are manifest by the kever, as we'll talk about tomorrow. Let's learn just another few lines in the next paragraph. The reason why one has to travel specifically to his holy resting place, to awaken over there the love for the tzaddik, let me just sit and meditate at home and spend time to awaken the love for the tzaddik while I'm at home. Yes, but the base time, there are 2 reasons for this. One is a simple practical reason. When he's traveling with a great yearning and desire, I'm traveling to the tzaddik now. There'll be from this a great inspiration from below. And this inspires him. And afterwards, when he arrives over there with the power of that great belief that pushed him and inspired him to go visit the tzaddik, surely will become totally nullified from his being, and he'll set himself up and prepare himself, and he'll have intention towards Hashem, with a great sublimation, with total self-sacrifice, like we explained, is the emotions that the tzaddik evokes in the person. He'll pour out what his speech before, in other words, his davening from the depth of his heart, on the fact that he became so distant from the tzaddik. And through this inspiration, that he becomes totally inspired because he's had all this buildup of the traveling and movement, and I'm going to the tzaddik, I'm going to the tzaddik, I'm going to the tzaddik. So that emotion that's built up from that, and that passion, and that hachnoah, mesiras nefesh, Yara Hashem, through that, Yara Hashem, olav ruach memorim, Hashem will pour out the Spirit from above. Which Spirit is it? Ruach Rabbi is the Ruach of his Rebbe, that the student has a portion in it, lahachis nafshe, that this Ruach of his Rebbe will enliven his soul by in the light of the teachings and the avodah of his Rebbe. So it's a practical, psychological thing that the yearning created by the travel, etc., that is something that will awaken and bring inspiration and bring his bittul to the fore, etc., etc. Tomorrow we're going to talk about there is something also specifically of the tzaddik connected with the place of the grave that is the purpose in visiting as well.